The Red Sea had been tense for months, but in recent weeks, the situation reached a boiling point. Reports of Houthi-controlled ports in Yemen being used as hubs for smuggling weapons, assembling drones, and launching attacks on merchant vessels had set regional powers on edge. Intelligence sources revealed a troubling pattern. Advanced Iranian-made components were being delivered under the cover of night, hidden in civilian cargo shipments, then assembled into kamikaze drones and loitering munitions in the heart of these ports. Israel had been tracking these activities with growing concern. The Houthis had already demonstrated their ability to target Israeli-linked shipping lanes, and any escalation threatened to disrupt one of the world's most vital maritime trade routes. High-level discussions within Israel's security cabinet concluded that patience had run out. The time for warnings had passed. A decision was made. The port facilities would be taken out of operation before the Houthis could launch their next wave of attacks. Under the cover of darkness, the Israeli Navy deployed one of its most capable warships to the region. This vessel was no ordinary patrol craft. It carried advanced radar, long-range missile systems, and electronic warfare capabilities designed to neutralize threats before they could respond. The operation was classified under the highest secrecy. Even among the crew, only a handful knew the exact nature of the mission. Hours before dawn, the ship approached its designated position, just beyond the horizon from the Houthi-held coastline. In the command center, tension was palpable. Surveillance drones relayed real-time imagery of the port. Warehouses stacked with crates, the faint movement of armed guards, and, most concerning, the unmistakable outlines of large drones on the tarmac. Every minute increased the risk that the target would go mobile, making the strike far more dangerous. Then, the order came through, commence strike. Within seconds of the command, the ship's missile hatches slid open, the air filled with the low mechanical hum of targeting systems locking onto their marks. On the bridge, officers spoke in clipped, deliberate tones, their eyes fixed on the glowing tactical display. The targets were prioritized: the main drone assembly warehouse, the suspected weapons storage depot, and the fuel reservoirs feeding the port's operations. The first missile roared into the night sky, its trail briefly illuminating the deck before vanishing into black horizon. A heartbeat later, a second launch followed, then a third, each carrying a warhead designed for maximum precision and minimum collateral damage. Miles away, the Houthis never saw it coming. Surveillance feeds showed the first impact. A flash of light erupted from the warehouse, followed by a rolling wave of fire and smoke. The explosion was so intense that it lit up the coastline, revealing silhouettes of armed men scrambling in confusion. The second strike found its mark moments later, turning the weapons depot into a fiery crater. The third missile slammed into the fuel tanks, sending a towering column of black smoke spiraling into the sky. But the operation wasn't over. As planned, the warship's electronic warfare systems activated, jamming enemy communications and blinding their radar. Houthi defenses, already slow to react, now had no way to coordinate a counterattack. The port, their critical launch hub, was effectively paralyzed. And yet, in the middle of this decisive strike, something completely unexpected began to unfold. The Israeli crew expected chaos after the first wave of strikes, and they got it. Through thermal imaging, they saw groups of armed fighters sprinting across the dock, trying to reach anti-air emplacements that by now were barely functional. Some dove for cover behind shipping containers. Others scrambled to man heavy machine guns that seemed pitifully inadequate against a warship bristling with modern weaponry. But then, a blip appeared on the radar. At first, the crew thought it was debris caught in the wind, but the signal grew stronger, fast. The ship's combat systems flagged it. An incoming aerial contact, low altitude, high velocity. A drone. And not just any drone. This was a large, combat-grade UAV, likely armed and heading straight toward them. The captain gave the order without hesitation: activate close-in defense systems. The Phalanx CIWS spun to life, its rapid-fire gun tracking the target. Tracer rounds lit up the darkness, cutting a line of fire across the sky. Seconds later, the drone exploded mid-air in a burst of flame and twisted metal. Cheers erupted on deck, but it was short-lived. A second radar contact appeared, then a third. This was no accident. The Houthis had clearly anticipated some form of attack and had staged a desperate counterstrike, launching multiple drones from hidden positions deep inland. Even as the Israeli ship's gunners worked frantically to intercept them, small speedboats were spotted emerging from the shadows of the coastline, engines roaring as they cut across the black water toward the warship. The crew instantly shifted focus. Missile systems for the larger threats, heavy deck guns for the speedboats. The air and sea lit up with crisscrossing streams of tracer fire and missile trails. One speedboat was hit and erupted into a ball of fire, sinking almost immediately. Another veered off, its pilot likely realizing the suicide mission was doomed. Still, the battle was far from over. The port was now in full alarm mode. Sirens blared, red lights flashed across dockside towers, and Houthi fighters, in sheer defiance, began firing rockets wildly toward the sea, hoping to get lucky. The Israeli captain knew that every second they stayed in this kill zone increased the risk, but pulling back too soon would mean leaving the mission incomplete. The Israeli captain knew they had reached the point of no return. With every minute, more hostile contacts were appearing on the radar. A clear sign the Houthis were throwing everything they had into stopping the warship. But the primary objective remained, to cripple the port's strategic infrastructure beyond quick repair. The order came sharp and clear. Target the central fuel depots. Fire when ready. 2 surface-to-surface missiles streaked toward the shore, their trails glowing against the night sky. In less than 15 seconds, they slammed into massive cylindrical tanks near the heart of the port. The explosions were deafening, a chain reaction of fire and pressure tearing through the dockside. Flames rose hundreds of meters into the air, reflecting on the waves like molten gold. The shock wave could be felt on deck, rattling the hull and sending a hot wind rushing over the crew. But just as the crew allowed themselves a moment of grim satisfaction, a sudden alert broke the moment. Sonar detected an underwater contact. This wasn't part of the original risk assessment. Whatever it was moving fast toward the warship's position from the harbor's submerged channels. The ship's anti-submarine team sprang into action. Sonobuoys were deployed, scanning the depths. Within seconds, the image was clear. A small manned submersible, likely jury-rigged with explosives. A Houthi suicide weapon meant to ram the hull. The crew had less than a minute to react. The captain ordered evasive maneuvers, swinging the ship to starboard while dropping depth charges in a calculated pattern. The water erupted in towering columns. Moments later, a muffled but powerful blast signaled the destruction of a submersible. Yet the danger wasn't over. Another wave of drones appeared on the horizon, this time flying low over the water, hoping to breach radar detection. With cool precision, the Israeli gunners locked on and engaged, cutting them down one by one. The battle was now a blur of noise, light, and rapid orders, until finally the radar cleared. No more speedboats, no more drones. The port was burning uncontrollably, and the enemy's capacity to respond had been shattered. As the Israeli warship pulled back into the safety of open waters, the crew understood the gravity of what they'd accomplished. This wasn't just a strike. It was a message, broadcast in fire and steel. Any threat to Israeli security, no matter how distant or fortified, could and would be neutralized. In the days that followed, satellite imagery confirmed what the crew already knew. The Houthi port was crippled. Entire sections of its infrastructure lay in ruins. Fuel depots reduced to twisted steel, loading cranes toppled, and key logistics hubs blackened beyond repair. Supply lines for weapons and fuel had been cut, forcing the Houthis to scramble for alternatives. International observers quickly recognized the precision and scale of the operation. Analysts noted that it wasn't just a blow to a rebel faction. It was a demonstration of Israel's ability to project power far beyond its borders, in contested waters and in the face of layered threats. By striking directly at a strategic port under hostile control, Israel sent a message to every adversary in the region. Distance offers no protection. Regional responses were mixed. Some Gulf states quietly welcomed the weakening of the Houthis, who had long targeted commercial shipping routes and oil facilities. Others, wary of escalation, called for restraint. Yet the Houthis themselves vowed retaliation, promising to strike Israeli assets when the time is right. From a military standpoint, the operation revealed several key truths. First, The combination of naval precision strikes and layered defensive systems can neutralize both conventional and asymmetric threats, from armed drones to suicide submersibles. Second, the battle highlighted the growing role of maritime dominance in modern conflicts, where control of ports and shipping lanes can shift the balance of power more effectively than prolonged ground campaigns. For Israel, the success served as both a deterrent and a morale boost. Domestically, it reassured the public that the military remained capable of safeguarding national security against even the most unconventional threats. Internationally, it reinforced alliances with partners who rely on safe shipping routes through the region's critical choke points. Still, the underlying tensions remained unresolved. The Houthis, though weakened, retained the ability to disrupt maritime traffic and target regional infrastructure. Future confrontations seemed inevitable. But one thing was certain. The events of that night will be studied in military academies and strategy circles for years to come, a textbook example of decisive, high-stakes naval warfare in the 21st century. As the Israeli warship sailed home under the first light of dawn, its wake cutting clean lines through the calm sea, the crew knew they had changed the strategic map. The port was gone, the threat was diminished, and the message that Israel could strike swiftly, precisely, and without warning had been delivered loud and clear.